Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Fisher, and this is our channel, our Scientology Stories, Peeling the Onion. And I'm here with my co-host,
Janis Gillham Grady. Good day, everybody. So,
Hi,
how are
how
you,
you doing
Mark?
today, Janice? I'm good. I'm good. It's just cold in Las Vegas when we record this right now, which is unusual for
Yeah,
us. But hey, we got to take the cold with the hot, and
yeah,
it
we
is what
do.
it is. Yeah.
Yep, I'm
But you've
I'm
been
pulling
out
out my
riding
sweaters.
though. Yeah, and you
Oh,
you wore your hoodie, right? Didn't you wear your hoodie when your Good Day Mates hoodie from our merchandise store?
yes, I did, and it kept me nice and warm. It was really cold yesterday when I went out.
Yeah.
It was like in the 40s, high 40s.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And that's
yeah.
cold for Las Vegas. I know all you people in Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where John Poe and Clearwater Chad's in Buffalo. I mean, for us, that's cold.
Oh, I'm a wimp when it comes to that.
Me too. I'm a complete wimp, total and utter.
Yeah. Yeah, no cold for
Anyway,
me. I'm happy with Las Vegas weather.
me too. Me too. Okay. Anyway, to before we get started, I'm just going to mention this is a part 7 in a series that we're doing on L. Ron Hubbard and his messengers. We've done parts 1 through 6, and they're on our channel, and they're available. We actually have them in a playlist, so if you want to click on the playlist, you can start at the beginning and go all the way through. But actually, you can watch them in any order that you like, because basically it's Janice telling stories about what it was like working for L. Ron Hubbard as a messenger, as a young child, the abuses that went on, and all the different stories about what went on. So you can watch this one now, and then you can go back and catch the other ones later, and I will put them, link to them, the playlist in our description so that you can find them very easily. Janice, you worked for Hubbard. Just to reacquaint everybody, you worked for Hubbard for many years, right? What age did you start, and how long were you working for him?
I had just turned 12 years old. We were on the Royal Scotsman when he came aboard, and it was a much bigger ship than he had been on. And so they got him messengers. The first one was Quentin Hubbard to stand 3 hours, and then I went on the next 3 hours, and then it just kind of rolled from there. And then we ended up with 4 original messengers, which was myself, Annie Broker, Claire Popham, and my sister Terry Gillham Gamboa.
And no,
So
and no David Miscavige, right?
no, he didn't come along until many, many, many years later.
Exactly. I'm just
So
making a joke.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, he was. I know some people have said he was on the Royal Scotsman or the Apollo. He was not. He did not join the Sea Org until April '76, when we were already land based in Clearwater.
Right. Right.
Yes, so
Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. Is that all right?
yes, let's do this.
All right. I'll put up the first slide. Here we go.
So this is actually a picture. I didn't have it in my collection, and one of our subscribers had it and sent it to me. So I thought I'd show this one. And this was taken in the Caribbean before we moved to Clearwater, but I wanted to show it off because it's a great picture. There's Hubbard sitting on the passenger side in the front, and in the driver's seat is Kathy Kurataki, and she was in charge of the household unit for L. Ron Hubbard at the time.
She's wearing the dark sunglasses, right?
Yeah, she's in the driver's seat,
Okay.
and directly behind her is Liz Osley, and she's a long time. Actually, she worked with the Sea Org and was treated like a Sea Org member, but she never signed a Sea Org contract despite all the years she was there. But and she was Hubbard's public relations person, and she would set up all the different locations and worked on the scripts and things like that. And then behind her is Clarice Barnett, and that is Shelley Miscavige's older sister, and she was a messenger since 1970, I believe it was. That's when she came to the ship. And then next to her, sitting up behind Hubbard, is my sister Terry. And then in the very back is Rick Sheehy, who was his job was Commodore Steward at this time. So he was there to serve him snacks or dinner or whatever on the set. Anyway, I just thought, what,
I love
Mark?
the way they labeled the car camera car. Like, why would they do that? It's like labeling a clay demo.
Yeah, well,
Cars that were like
Hubbard,
car or
Hubbard,
what?
yeah, Hubbard told Kathy to put a sign on the car, so Kathy put camera car.
I think it's funny because, like, oh, we can't spot the red car.
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, that is a great photo. And then I noticed from what Hubbard's wearing, a famous photograph for Sea Org and Scientologists was taken in that outfit where he's standing with his camera on a tripod. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Janis?
Is that the one in the old
Yep.
fort?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like a PR one. Yeah, it looks like he's wearing the same hat and shirt and all that. Maybe it was taken the same day.
That was a photo. Well, then this would be Jamaica, because that was a photo that my sister-in-law, Doreen, known as Doe, took. And
Okay.
I've shown that before, but we can pull it up another time and show
Oh yeah,
that.
no, I just wanted to comment on that. I've noticed from what he's wearing, it totally immediately I brought to mind that photograph, a color photo where he's standing and he's got a tripod and he's looking, and there's like a brick wall behind him and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't usually go by that because he pretty much wore the same clothes. You know, they go through the wall, and the next week he's wearing the same clothes. It wasn't a thing where he had a month's worth of clothing or a huge closet. He didn't.
Right.
He was very frugal on his clothing. He didn't have $5,000 pairs of shoes or anything like that. He did have, some when he would lose weight or gain weight, he would have a tailor sometimes take them in. But yeah, he pretty much wore the same stuff.
Okay.
So
ready for the next one?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so this is King Arthur's Court in Dunedin, which is next to Clearwater, and as covered in one of the early Messenger videos, this is where the Commodore stayed with the messengers and the household unit and Mary Sue and her staff. And this was because when we moved to Clearwater, the Guardian's office didn't want Hubbard to be in the Fort Harrison. He had been planning to move into the penthouse there. But so instead, they quickly got us a 6-month lease on King Arthur's Court. It was brand new. No one had ever lived there before us. And this was way off in the very back of the property, which gave us some privacy. This is where I tell the story of me teaching Quentin to drive, and we pull into one of those garages, and he puts his foot on the accelerator instead of the brake, and hits the wall, and the whole building is shaking. That a messenger's running down to find out what happened. Everyone thought it was an earthquake. No, it was Quentin not putting his foot on the brake, but doing the accelerator instead.
Janis, one thing I want to mention. I was just one thing. Your mic is blasting again. I don't know if you're too close to it or if you could just check to make sure you've got the right mic on.
Okay. Yeah. Do you need me to go out to do that? No.
You could just check it. Anyway, while she's doing that, you actually can look up King Arthur's Court in Dunedin, Florida. Last video that we did on this, some people did it and actually sent us and emailed us that it still exists. When this was built back in the time, I'm bringing you back in now. Sorry about that. That this was brand new in 1975, 76 or whatever it was. But yeah, no, the King Arthur's Court still exists there now.
Yes, and one of our subscribers actually went and checked it out and said, "Yep, it's still there."
Yeah, exactly. Janis, what I was going to just recommend, move your microphone away from you just a little bit so it's not, it'll be better, and we'll take care of it from there.
Hopefully that's better. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we were living at King Arthur's Court from December, and then it was probably around March, early March, just before Hubbard's birthday. Anyway, just around March was when a reporter had been nosing around, and Hubbard had also had a tailor out, and the tailor recognized him as the science fiction writer, and his wife was a big fan. Anyway, word got out that he was in town. So he ended up leaving and going off to Washington, D.C. with Kimmer and Michael Douglas. But But I do want to mention, I just thought of this. We did have Christmas there because I remember Hubbard, when he got up one morning after Christmas, he was all excited about this one gift that he got. And he always got piles of gifts. And he said, go over to the table there and look in that little box. And I picked it up and I looked in the little box, and it was a little brush, and it said belly button brush. And it was just so unique, he had to mention it because it had really captured his eye more than any of the other gifts that he had.
But hold on, somebody gave it to him, or he gave it to somebody else?
Somebody gave it to him for Christmas.
Oh.
It's, some public Scientologist sent it in as a Christmas gift for him. And he thought it was one of the gifts that he talked about. The others, there were so many that usually went to storage, but this one, he had to put it on his dresser, but it was I just thought I'd throw that in as a funny little story.
That is funny, but but Janis, you're right. He got a lot of gifts, and most of them were just the boxes were open and then they were sent to storage. It wasn't like stuff that he used and stuff like that. He just would get them and they went off to storage. He got stuff from all over the world.
Oh yeah. Well, also for Christmas, I remember West US, the Los Angeles group, they all put money together, and they bought him it was like a sand buggy called the Thing. It was called a Thing.
A dune buggy, yeah. Or no, the Thing is like a dune buggy, yeah.
Yeah, he was even gotten that as a gift. He never drove it, but the people would just come up with all these stupid ideas of things, and he never got into that type of thing, and he never drove the Thing. If he drove his caddy, and so there's a lot of stuff that ended up in storage, not used. And I'm sure that they've now just put it all on display as these were all Hubbard's, where he looked at it once, it went in a box, went into storage.
Right.
So what a waste. Anyway, so he ended up, because of the exposure, he ended up having to take off, and they were driving up to New York where he wanted to go, having been there in 1973. And then when they started to head into New York, Kim was like, this is not a good idea. It's all smoggy. There's too much traffic, blah, blah, blah. So she turned around, and they went to Washington, D.C. and got a place there. And that's where they stayed until...
And this is 1975, right? Because
76.
Okay, because I graduated in June of 76, right?
Yeah, we landed in October 75. We purchased the Fort Harrison and the Clearwater building, and we closed escrow early December 75, moved before Christmas 75. And then January 76, I remember he sent me on a mission to Celebrity Center. And then when I came back late in February, stats started to fall with Celebrity Center. He pulled me in saying, you need to write your mother and find out who's cross-ordering your mission. And so I wrote my mom, and she got back on doing the mission actions I'd done with her, and I ended up with an affluence mission. And then it was shortly after that he ended up having to take off to Washington, D.C. Anyway, while he was in Washington, D.C. with Kimmer and Michael, they had Jim Dinkowski come and join them. And then Gail Riesdorf. I have can you pull up that picture?
Is it this one here?
That one there. That's a picture. It's kind of small, but that's a picture of Hubbard taking a photo of Kimmer and Mike Douglas in D.C. And this photo was taken by Jim Dinkowski.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, just so people know too, that year was my senior year in high school. I was public at the Washington, D.C. org, and I actually joined the Sea Org in July of 1976. So we had no idea. I know the people at the organization in D.C., they had no idea that Hubbard was in Washington Right, Janis?
Right. Yeah, they did not know.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, while he was in Washington, D.C., though on the ship, we'd gone through a nightmare of having to rinse all his shirts and then everything he wore smelling like soap. And, it was a pure nightmare. But when he was in D.C., there was never an issue. Kimmer would just wash the stuff and hang it up and iron it, and then Gail Riesdorf, I think that's the next photo.
This one here.
Yeah, that's Gail. That was on the ship. She stayed a little longer than the rest of us. She was Mary Sue's assistant steward. And there she is cleaning up the ship after everything had been moved off. She was there cleaning. And then she joined us at King Arthur's Court. And then she was pulled up to D.C. And she's the one who, while she was in D.C., she just kind of dusted and cleaned, and Kimmer would make snacks and just put it in the fridge. And it was like very simple. And Hubbard wasn't getting mad about anything. None of these allergies happened to be kicking in like they did on the ship or even in Dunedin. And
it's crazy. It was the same thing when he went to New York earlier with Jim Denkelsey and the other guy, right? They just cooked food in the apartment or whatever they were at. You know what I mean? And Hubbard never really complained.
Yeah, the other guy was Paul Preston, but yeah, you're right. He never complained. And the same thing later on when he went up to Sparks with Dee Dee Riesdorf, Pat Broker, and Claire Popham. The same thing. He never complained. When he's with a small crew, it was like very simple, and he acted like a regular person, as far as his clothes and his meals were concerned, and they would all sit down and have meals together. But when he was in a larger setting, for some reason, some sort of different soap is used, and that becomes a problem. Anyway, so in Washington, D.C., it was pretty smooth, and he'd get up in the middle of the night to go order it himself, and he'd go get a snack from the fridge that Kimmer would have made. And it was Gail's birthday on March 19. So I know they were in D.C. by then because he wrote a birthday card to Gail, which... that's her non-existence. I don't know if people can read it, but that's where Gail wrote on her arrival saying that she's there and wanted to find out what's needed and wanted per the Scientology non-existence formula. And that's where you have condition formulas and you find out what's needed and wanted, and then you're in danger, and then your emergency up to normal. So this was her non-existence formula, asking what's needed and wanted, and his response to that.
Yeah, I'm reading just the top of it says, thank you. Things are going much better now that you are here. This is, and then I can't read the rest of it, but basically he was happy she was there.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, it just kind of gives, just a sample of what life was like with him and his response. And then the next one is his birthday card to Gail that he personally did rather than his public relations. And then a birthday card, I opened that up. And it's a rose.
It says a rose by any other name is spelled Gail. Love R.
Right. Yeah. So, that reminds me, all the years I was working with him, I had birthday cards for every year and Christmas, and I kept them in a file. And when I left, I had an off-store storage with a small little safe, a fire-proof safe with the cards in it. And they actually raided my storage and took all my birthday cards, any letters I had from Hubbard, any photos of me and him. They took them all. So I don't have those. But Gail, when she left, she managed to take hers with her. I thought my stuff was safe off base. I thought, it's all safe here. No, they got clippers and they clipped that lock and got in there and took anything they wanted.
Let me ask you a couple questions regarding that.
Yeah.
Did he personally write cards to you? Like the cards, would he personally write them and sign them to you just like that one there that he sent to Gail? and were
Yes.
they always like sort of really nice messages? I mean, that's a nice message. Some people could read that as being really creepy, but Gail was turning 21, but that's not to justify it. But it is kind of you know, for
Yeah.
somebody who's working for him, you know what I mean? It's kind of a, personal.
Yeah. The public relations would, send him up blank birthday cards, and then he would write a little message in those birthday cards to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for the next picture?
Yeah. All right. So, not yet.
Okay.
So anyway, so they're in DC, and life's going along fine. And meanwhile, he's writing Mary Sue, who's at UCE, King Arthur's Court, with us. And meanwhile, he's also working on getting an apartment or a place to live in California. So the Guardian's office in California is working on trying to find him a new base. And meanwhile, they do find an apartment building with a few apartments. So he's going to now move from DC to California. And so what happens is...
Well, let me ask you, so he's moving because, like you said, they found out that he was in the United States in Clearwater, and he basically wanted to be not seen anymore, right? In other words, he wanted a confidential location, right?
Right. So he was in Washington, D.C. And actually, when he was in Washington, D.C., Kimmer used to worry because he would go out with a little spy camera and he'd sit on a park bench and he'd take pictures of different people. He didn't care if they were Secret Service or whatever. He'd just be taking these photos and thinking he was being undercover type of thing. And he'd be wearing this hat with fake hair sewn into it.
Oh, yeah.
And sunglasses. And anyway, and he would go out on his own and do this. And then, so now the idea is to get everybody back together again and set it up in California. So it's decided that the external comm that's going to be located with him, or his location in the apartment buildings, is going to be called Astra. And a relay point is going to be called Beta. And so there's going to be some messengers who are going to be set up at Beta. And Beta was going to be set up in the Fifield Manor, which is where Celebrity Center is now. And you can show that picture. So there's the Fifield Manor, which is now Celebrity Center. And at that time in 1976, the Guardian's Office US was on the 6th floor. And they had an external communications office there. And so two messengers were selected, along with two people from the LRH external comm were picked to drive across the US and set up Beta. So those that were going one was Clarice Barnett. There's Clarice there. That's Shelley Miscavige's older sister, as I'd mentioned in the previous photo in the front. And Jill Goodman. And there's a picture of Jill. So these two young girls drive across the U.S. with two external comm people, which would be Gary Riesdorf and I think Jerry Armstrong, who was married to my sister at the time. So they drive over and they set up Beta, and they're doing relay out of the Guardian's Office external comm on the 6th floor of the manor. And when we were in Clearwater, Hubbard had purchased a yellow Matador car for the messengers for us to use. And when we were in Clearwater, that's what it looked like. Anyway, when we first arrived in the US, the first thing we had to do was all get driver's licenses. So I was 19 years old when I first learned how to drive. Clarice and Jill, all of us, 18, 19, and learning how to drive. And so then they've got the long trip across the US in a car that looks like this. And also while he was in DC, he had us get commercial driver's licenses in case we had to drive an RV or a bus or a truck or something like that. And I didn't mind because it gave me a motorbike license.
That's
So,
cool. Yeah, just so people know, I mean, I was around that time period. I mean, that all the cars looked like that. They were all big boats back in the mid '70s. It's not like they are today, but it is funny to see it because it looks like a whole old beater now. You know what I mean? You wouldn't
yeah,
see that
it
car
does.
anymore. And it was
It does.
American Motors. AMC doesn't even exist anymore. The Matador. I remember the car.
Yeah. I liked driving it. But anyway, what happened is Clarice ends up getting in a car accident on the freeway in Los Angeles.
Mm.
So the car is put in the shop, and Clarice is now going to be pulled to Astra because she got in the car accident. So I then get told I'm going to Beta.
Oh.
So I now go out, fly out, and Jerry Armstrong picks me up and takes me to get the car from the repair shop. And now there I am at that age, and now I'm having to drive on the LA freeways. All I'd driven before was Clearwater, Dunedin,
Right,
back
right.
and
Yeah, like
forth.
a little, yeah.
That's all I'd driven before. And then suddenly I'm here on these LA freeways. And I remember distinctly Jerry getting off at a ramp, and I'm like, I can't get over. And I end up pulling over, and I'm sitting on this little diamond, going, now what do I do? And Jerry's going off this way, and the freeway's going this way. And I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I managed to get out of that alive.
That's
And
funny. Just and everybody who's ever been to Los Angeles knows that it's like being in the Indy 500 or the Daytona 500. I mean, the cars go fast on the freeway, and you've got to commit when you change lanes because otherwise you're going to get hit.
yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
You look
Anyway,
like
so
you look like you're about 14 years old there, but you said what are you, 19 years old?
I'm 19 in that picture.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm now working out of the Fifield Manor at the Guardian's office. So it's Jill and I, and and Clarice is now at Astra, and I would do the mail runs from the Guardian's office to Astra.
Where was Astra? Tell people where Astra was in Los Angeles. Culver City, right?
Culver City, and on Overland, I think was the name of the road.
Yeah, just so people know who may not know Los Angeles, Culver City is down kind of near Santa Monica and down by the 10 freeway. And it was famous because the MGM studios used to be out there in Culver City. So that was the part of Los Angeles where it was. Whereas the Fifield Manor, which was now Celebrity Center, that was on Franklin. That was right by Hollywood Boulevard, Franklin, right in the middle of Hollywood. Anyway, go ahead, Janis.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm the one that would have to do the mail runs, the mail drops every day between Astra and Beta. And I'd help Jill with the telex traffic back and forth and so forth. But because we'd have to code it and decode it to send messages to management or to the Guardian's office because Hubbard was now involved in trying to purchase the property in La Quinta, which is known as Winter Headquarters. Anyway, and I remembered on one of my driving runs, I'm driving along and I've now got two trucks on either side of me. And I speed up to get past the trucks. And next thing I know, sirens are going, flashing lights. I got that shingle down my spine of, oh my God, am I in trouble? I pull over and these cops pull over and they're flashlighting my car and searching everything. And I got mail packs and I'm like, oh, this is like top security. Here I am with L. Ron Hubbard's confidential communications, and how am I going to talk my way out of this? Because then they'll know that Hubbard's in the area because I'm a messenger. And, you think the world is smaller than it really is, So anyway, I managed to talk my way out of getting the ticket, which was a relief because then I didn't have to tell anybody.
That would have been lower conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been lower conditions. So I didn't have to tell anyone. that I'd gotten stopped and my car was searched. And yeah, so I was careful after that. But yeah, we'd do mail drops, and I'd go to Astra. And I remember the first time I saw Hubbard, when I showed up at Astra just to say hi to everybody and drop some stuff off. He came into the external comm, and that's when I'd noticed that the cyst that he'd had on the top of his head was no longer there. And his teeth had been cleaned. And Kimma had said she'd taken him to the doctor and gotten the cyst cut off, and he was put under and had all his mouth work done and his teeth cleaned and all the cigarette tobacco tar removed from his teeth. And he definitely looked much better.
Now, was Astra like a townhouse or an apartment, or what was it?
It was apartments. And what was amazing is there was thousands of apartments. This place was huge, or at least it was huge to me, having come from Clearwater.
And having lived on a ship on the Apollo.
Yeah, I had no reality. What's an apartment, at the Manor, I was staying at the Shangri-La Lodge across the road.
Right.
We had a little studio apartment, and we had a little burner in order to cook our meals on a burner. And we'd never cooked, Jill and I, and we didn't know what we were doing. And it was, two 19-year-olds, having never cooked really. I'd cooked up to the age of 11, and then I went to the ship, and then all my meals were cooked for me. Right. So anyway, it was a huge complex where he lived, and they had 2-bedroom apartments and stuff, but there was more people. There's of our group, at Astra, they had to sleep on the couch because all the beds were taken, and it was very overcrowded until they managed to purchase winter headquarters in La Quinta. And I would go out there on my liberties because there was a swimming pool, and so with Gail and Clarice and others, we'd go swimming and hang out on our liberty at the swimming pool there. Anyway, so everything was going fine until, and then Lois Jory, here she is. She was 16 at the time. She was sent out to join Jill and I and help with the telex traffic. She couldn't drive yet, so she came out and joined us. So there was the 3 of us now living in our little studio apartment across the road from the Manor, working in the Guardian's office, external comm, where they were hiding everything from us and keep watching us to make sure we didn't try and look at their telex traffic. And they were just crazy. Anyway, during this time period, I believe the next photo is Jerry. Oh,
no, it's the Hollywood Inn.
It's the Hollywood Inn. Okay. We ended up, you can pull up that picture of the Hollywood Inn. We ended up moving from the Guardian's office external comm to the Hollywood Inn and working out of the external comm there at the management, the West US management office.
Yeah, and just so people know, the Hollywood is on Hollywood Boulevard. It's a famous building. It's been there forever. You see the Scientology sign on the building, and there was always a test center down below where, they would try and get people into Scientology off of Hollywood Boulevard. And they still own that property to this day. They have their winter wonderland for Christmas in the parking lot and all that. But that's what the Hollywood Inn is. Go ahead, Janis.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up moving there. But it was Jill and I that moved there because Lois was pulled to go to Astra. And what happened is just before we moved there is Jerry Armstrong. The next picture, I believe, is Jerry. Oh, no, that's Nikki. Okay, there's Jerry. Okay, Jerry, at the time, he was married to my sister. My sister was still in Clearwater. And Jerry was now at Astra working in the external comm there. And he'd gotten very frustrated at Mary Sue's communicator, Nikki Merwin. And there's a picture of Nikki there with her husband, Rick. Anyway, he called her a black witch. And because of that, he was pulled to the manor from Astra and put under sec check by the Guardian's office. And he called her a black witch. I mean, everybody knew that she could be very nasty, very protective of Mary Sue. She was not someone to just kind of hang out with people. She had a nose up at people.
Right.
Anyway, so Jerry called her a name. And next thing you know, he's over at the manor under sec check by the Guardian's office. And we were in external comm at the time at the manor and weren't really aware of what was going on. Well, what I find out later, you can pull up that next picture, is Mike Meisner. Here he is. He was Guardian's office staff in D.C. And I remember meeting him when I was on mission in D.C. in 75. I'd go into the Guardian's office to ask the assistant Guardian something, and he answered the door. Anyway, he was one of the GO people who had infiltrated the IRS and had been stealing documents or photocopying documents and stealing the paper they were photocopied onto.
If you believe Scientology's explanation, yeah. Meanwhile, they were actually infiltrating and stealing documents, government documents. Yeah.
Right. So he was the main one doing it. And little did we know, at the same time they had Jerry locked up and under sec check, they had him locked up. And there was a warrant out for him, and they were actually harboring him because they didn't want him to testify on what they'd been doing.
And he got caught. They got caught by the FBI and was under investigation. It wasn't like he was just a nobody. Then he ran. He got out, right? And
what happened is the Guardian's office had him locked up, and then he kind of acted fine and built up their confidence, and then he escaped. And he actually managed that was months later when he escaped. And that's when he went to the FBI, and the FBI did their raid within weeks of him escaping. But at this particular time when they had Jerry locked up and being sec checked, they also had Mike Meisner. So they were on the edge of their chair, so to speak, over anything going on. So that's when my sister in Clearwater, it comes up at the same time that when they moved out of the King Arthur's Court apartments, everything was moved out, and Bill Fosdick and Bill Broderick were doing the mission to get everything moved out. There was a box there in the closet, a big wooden container in the closet. And what is stupid is one of them says, "What's that?" And the one says, "Oh, it's empty." And, "Oh, okay." No one bothered to check it. And it's like, well, if it's still here, why are you leaving it there? And one of them even went over and felt it was so heavy you couldn't move it. They left it there. So after King Arthur's Court was all moved, except for this one box, the owner comes in to inspect the property, and it's like, "What's this?" Well, they open it up, and it's L. Ron Hubbard's gun collection.
Oh my God.
Well, this isn't his collection. I just use this as a picture just to give an idea. But he had a collection like that. That's a big collection of different sized guns and antiques and triggers removed, and anyway. So it was then a big investigation as to who do these weapons belong to. And now, so the Guardian's office have Meisner under lock and key, Jerry under lock and key, and a situation in Clearwater of all these weapons having been found in a box that was left alone after they'd moved out of King Arthur's Court. So it was decided that since my sister was the messenger in charge at the time, that she should have made sure the whole place was emptied out. That's not her job.
Right.
That was the mission's job. So she gets pulled to LA and put under sec check with Jerry. And there's a picture of her. Anyway, so it's then decided that Terry and Jerry should be sent back to Clearwater, and LRH sends them back to Clearwater to restart the RPF. The RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force, had kind of quietly disappeared with the move from the ship to the base in Clearwater, and nobody wanted to bring it up anymore. Anyway, they were shipped back there, and Meisner is still under lock and key. And then I guess the GO didn't want us, for security reasons, in their external comms. So that's when we were moved over to the Hollywood Inn, and just Jill and I. So, and I didn't mind that because my mother had been at
Celebrity Center.
She was at Celebrity Center, and she had now moved up closer to the Hollywood Inn and was on La Brea.
Yeah, and, the CC was on La Brea at Hollywood, so it wasn't too far. Yes. It was an easy walk.
Yeah, so,
and then also she lived at the Wilcox, right?
Right. So I was right in between. So I was able to actually see her, and then every Thursday she would come over for the weekly meetings, and I would get to see her. So I actually enjoyed being over there rather than with the stuffy GO.
That's your mother down the right.
Yeah, that's her there. But then what happens is, so I'm still at Beta, and now Hubbard is sending me messages and having me go and inspect different places, go and inspect the test center. And so I would do that. It was downstairs in the Hollywood Inn. And then I had to write up a whole program to improve the test center and the body routing. Then I had to go down to the old advanced organization building in downtown LA and do an inspection of how they left that property. And I think I've told this story before, where I was with Brian Sheen and we're driving back, and I'm like, what are these little black things all over me? And it's like, oh my God, I have fleas. I had all these fleas over me from going inside the old ALA building.
God.
There was cat food left out and cats there, and some people were still sleeping on mattresses on the floor. Oh, it's just disgusting. So Brian pulls over, and there I am jumping out on the side of the freeway, trying to get rid of all these fleas that were on me. And then when I got back and I wrote up the report to Hubbard, he then telexes back and tells me to go get some DTS, or I've forgotten what it was called.
Oh, DTE, diatomaceous earth?
Yeah, it was the stuff for fleas, and it was now, it's now illegal in the US. And I'm going around trying to go to these places trying to find it, and they're like, that's illegal. No, you just need to go get some flea powder for cats.
Oh.
Anyway, it was just crazy, you know. And then what happened, I don't know what happened exactly, but Jill did a run to Astra. They were getting ready to move to, they'd established, they were buying the rifle property, palms and olives and a ranch house all out in La Quinta. And so they were getting people and moving them out there to fix the place up. So they really didn't need us there. And they were pulling messengers from Clearwater. So we ended up shutting down. But for some reason, we were in trouble, and I didn't even know why we were in trouble. And I asked Jill the other day, why were we in trouble? And she's like, I don't know. But she ended up in the RPF when we got back. I didn't. I just did some silly little liability formula, got that signed, and started working external comm. And then I became the commanding officer of CMO Clearwater. And took over just running all that. And meanwhile, while I was there, my mom was removed by an eval that the Guardian's office did. Well, they were the ones sending all the information to Harriet Foster. And they were just making crap up. But anyway, that eval got her removed as the commanding officer of Celebrity Center. And she was to instead create the public relations organization. So she came to Flag and was put through PR training, public relations training, and that was her doing some caper on somebody, giving them a picture of Hubbard. So while I was there in Clearwater, she was also there for about a month, objecting and wanting a COMEV of them having been removed, and wanting to see all the reports from the Guardian's office. But it was a time period that I got to spend with her, and nearly every night we'd go up to my room and we would watch Elvis Presley movies together, and that was a very enjoyable time. And then I got called away in April of 1977. And that was really the last time I ever really spent any time with her, because she died in January 78. But yeah, so then we'll go into the next series, because April 77 is when I was then pulled to winter headquarters in La Quinta.
Okay. Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
Who was it like
yes.
when there was Astra and Beta, right? You obviously you mentioned a couple of the messengers and all that, but who was in charge out there? Like, usually, I know how the CMO worked. You had somebody in charge in Clearwater. So, like, who was in charge of your group? Was it Hubbard directly, or was there somebody there that was the senior messenger in charge?
No, it was pretty much Hubbard was there in charge, and probably Gary Riesdorf was in charge of external comm. Oh no, Mike Douglas was in charge of external comm, and Kimmer was in charge of handling all the household unit type functions. And the messengers that were there were working with Hubbard and also working with external comm to help them cover the load on sending communications.
Got it. And so then he would then be the one deciding, I guess, to move out, like the move from Byfield Manor to Hollywood Inn, and then to whatever, because you guys weren't needed there and all. There was that, or who
well,
would
Mary Sue would have been
Yeah.
would have been the one wanting us out of the Guardian's office space, because we got to see all the different Guardian's office people as we'd go in and out, and we had access to it, and they were probably afraid we would learn something. I mean, she's always tried to keep us away from knowing what the Guardian's office was really doing. When Hubbard and her would have meals on the ship, as soon as a messenger walked into that dining room, she would just clam up and not say a word, because she was obviously briefing him on the different campaigns that they were doing.
I understand. Let me ask you another question. Like, and I'm honestly asking you this because I don't know. I mean, back when years later, you would have a commanding officer, CMO International, a commanding officer, CMO Clearwater, a commanding officer, CMO in Los Angeles, right? Well, and then on the ship, I guess you had some kind of hierarchy with the senior messengers or whatever. But I mean, how did that transition when you went land-based, like in Clearwater, and then also now you're spread out in DC and LA and all that? How did that work?
Well, on the ship, we had just the messenger in charge, but then we had our own little org board. And so we'd have people over the different functions. And then when we moved to Dunedin, to King Arthur's Court, we continued doing that. And then it kind of got dispersed a little, with David and Claire Rousseau going up to Washington, D.C. and handling external comm there. But there were no actual messengers with Hubbard. That was Kimmer, Michael, Jim Din, and Gail. Gail wasn't a messenger yet.
Uh-huh.
And then, so in Clearwater, we still had our own little org board doing our functions and doing inspections. We had areas that we were all responsible for. So each messenger would be responsible for their own flag service org division or management division or whatever. And then when they set up Astra, then messengers were taken from Clearwater and moved to LA or to Astra. And so those people in Clearwater would be replaced with new messengers coming on. And that's where you end up with people like David Miscavige coming in to become a messenger and going through the basic training and so forth.
Right.
And then it was and I was the one who was in charge of the CMO in Clearwater in January when Hubbard said, I need some more messengers, because he'd already moved now to La Quinta. And that's when I sent Miscavige out to go and work. He'd have to, of course, start as a messenger in training. Yeah.
Now, when I was there in July 1976, Miscavige just finished his basics and was becoming a messenger. Annie Rush at the time, she was Annie Rush. I was told that she was in charge. She was the commanding officer there at that time in 1976. So did she? And then you guys had like an external communicate comm in Clearwater that you guys did watches on during that time period. And of course, Hubbard was gone.
Right.
So did
Right.
Annie? Did she eventually go with Charlie, and did they go to La Quinta, or how did she get from Clearwater to where she ended up?
Well, with Terry being removed as the commanding officer because of her connection with Jerry calling Nikki a black witch, and Terry having to go return to Clearwater, Annie then replaced her as the commanding officer. So any investigations Hubbard wanted would all go to Annie. And then when I came back, Annie was then called up to go to La Quinta.
I see.
And Charlie did not go with her at first, but she went up there without Charlie. And that's when I took over as the, running CMO in Clearwater until April when Biddy then took over from me.
Okay. Did you guys still have the boardroom up on the mezzanine in the Fort Harrison?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had the boardroom right there in the Fort Harrison.
Right there in the front, on the mezzanine. Because that's where it was when I went in there. When we mustered, we went in there, and that's basically where we worked. And then you guys had the external comm over in the Clearwater building, which had just been renovated after the fire or whatever.
No,
it hadn't been fire yet. No, you're right. No, but it was in Clearwater. It was in the Clearwater building with the external.
Yeah, because the Clearwater building fire happened. I was already gone, so it happened after April 77.
Yeah. No, I remember now. No, I'm just trying to fill in for myself because I remember that boardroom. You had Harmony in there, the bird for Hubbard. Yeah,
the turtle dove.
Dove.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a photo somewhere of Harmony sitting on my head in that boardroom.
Okay, great. Those are great stories, Janis. So we'll carry on with the next part, where I guess is La Quinta, right? When you guys are out at La Quinta, is that where we'll pick it up?
Yep, that's where we'll pick it up. And if I've forgotten anything from this story, I'll bring that up in the next one.
That's great. Anyway, I just want to mention, since you're here, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. If you enjoyed these stories, we got lots more. We're telling the history of Scientology and the Sea Organization. We're talking about the abuses, and we're going to continue the series and get it wrapped up here. But anyway, please subscribe. We really appreciate it. Hit that notification button. And of course, rock slam the like button. That's number one.
That's right.
Number two, if you're interested, Janis has 2 books. This is book 1, Commodore's Messenger, The Child Adrift in the Scientology Sea Organization. And that's her on the deck with Hubbard on the Flagship Apollo when she was just young, 13 or whatever. And then this is book 2, and that's Janis in the Caribbean with Hubbard. And you can see her there on that book. And this is basically her history with Hubbard up to the point where you guys get to Clearwater, right? Is that where it sort of takes it up to?
Yes. But that picture was actually taken in Setúbal, Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, you can order these books autographed. Just go right down below the comments. They're listed there as our products in our merchandise store. If you'd like an autographed copy of either one of these books, you can buy it there, and Janis will personally autograph it to you and send it to you. So that's available in our merchandise store. The other thing I wanted to mention about our merchandise store is that we are running right now. It's Thanksgiving time, but from now, Thanksgiving, all the way through until New Year's Day, we're going to have a discount on all of our merchandise. The shirts and hoodies, we have a $3 discount. You just use the promo code HOLIDAY, all in capitals, and it'll give you a $3 discount on any shirt or hoodie. And then all our coffee mugs, we've got a $1 discount. and use the promo code MUGME, all in capitals, one word, and those discounts will be applied to your order. And the sale expires New Year's Day. So this is for holidays, for gifts, Christmas, whatever you want to do. But we just wanted to mention that to everybody. And again, there's a link to our merchandise store in the description of this video where you can order merchandise and gifts and things like that. And like Janis said, she's wearing her warm hoodie right now, which is a new Good Day Mates hoodie when she is riding. The other thing I want to mention is if you have any questions or comments, just add them to the comment section below. We check them. Janis and I do all the time. So, and there's Misha right on cue. So anyway, you just go in there and you can question or comment. And then finally, if you want to donate to our channel and help us out, you can buy us a coffee. Again, in the description of the video, there's a link where you can buy us a coffee. So I just wanted to mention that too. Anything you would like to mention, Janis, before we finish off this video?
I just hope everybody has a good day. And hello, Misha.
Yeah, Misha's here. Okay, everybody. Until the next time, we'll do another one here soon. We're going to wrap this series up. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.